over centuries. It is such a pleasure in this August gathering that we are delving into 2 days of spiritual joy of exploring the history and mystery of these sacred sites. Before we embark upon this auspicious journey, may I respect the honorable dignitaries to please come on the stage to invoke the blessings of Ma Saraswati before we embark upon this conference. May I invite our special guest, Shri Gaurang Prabhudas Prabhuji, Shri K.V. Raju sir, accompanied by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dongre, and Registrar Dr. Sushant Joshi, for auspicious lighting of the lamp on the stage. May I also request my dear colleague, Professor Shruti, to render a prayer song invoking the blessings of Ma Saraswati.
वाणी परम कल्याणी वाणी परम कल्याणी नमो नमो अजनराणि पंकजपाणि वाणी परम कल्याणी भणिरे यम्बे भक्तजन सुखदाम्बे भणिरे यम्बे भक्तजन सुखदाम्बे सुळिदाडु शुभनितम्बे अम्बे सुळिदाडु शुभनितम्बे अम्बे वाणी परम कल्याणी वाणी परम कल्याणी नमो नमो अजनराणि पंकजपाणि वाणी परम कल्याणी परम कल्याणी नली नलिवाभरणಗಳ ಧರಿಸಿ ನಟಿಸುವಿ ದೇವಿ ಇಳೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಹರಿಣಾಕ್ಷಿ ಸಲಹು ಕಾಮಾಕ್ಷಿ ಜಯ ಜಯತು ಜಗನ್ಮಾತೆ ಜಗದೊಳಗೆ ಪ್ರಖ್ಯಾತೆ ದಯ ಮಾಡು ಧವಳ ಗೀತೆ ಮಾತೆ ಜಯ ಜಯತು ಜಗನ್ಮಾತೆ ಜಗದೊಳಗೆ ಪ್ರಖ್ಯಾತೆ ದಯ ಮಾಡು ಧವಳ ಗೀತೆ ಮಾತೆ ವಾಣಿ ಪರಮ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣಿ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ ಅಜನರಾಣಿ पंकजपाणि वाणी परम कल्याणी परम कल्याणी ನಿನ್ನಿಂದ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಅರಿಯೊಲು ಮೇಯಮ್ಮ ನಿನ್ನ ನಂಬಿದೆ ತಾಯೆ ನೀ ಬಂದು ಕಾಯೆ ನಿನ್ನಿಂದ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಹರಿಯೊಲು ಮೇಯಮ್ಮ ನಿನ್ನ ನಂಬಿದೆ ತಾಯೆ ನೀ ಬಂದು ಕಾಯೆ ಸತತ ಶ್ರೀ ಹಯವದನ ಪದ ಸೇವಕ ಪ್ರೀತೆ ಕ್ಷಿತಿಯೊಳಗೆ ನಯದಿಂದ ಗೆಲಿಸೆನ್ನ ಮಾತೆ ವಿಧಿ ಜಾತೆ ಸತತ ಶ್ರೀ ಹಯವದನ ಪದ ಸೇವಕ ಪ್ರೀತೆ ಕ್ಷಿತಿಯೊಳಗೆ ನಯದಿಂದ ಗೆಲಿಸೆನ್ನ ಮಾತೆ ವಿಧಿ ಜಾತೆ ವಾಣಿ ಪರಮ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣಿ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ ಅಜನರಾಣಿ पंकजपाणि वाणी परम वाणी परम वाणी परम कल्याणी परम कल्याणी
धन्यवाद। Thank you, dignitaries. Many thanks, Professor Shruti. We pray to Mata Saraswati to be with us throughout these 2 days as we seek knowledge, wisdom, values in this conference. Now, as we begin formally the two-day international conference, may I request our leader, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dongre, for formal welcome note to the dignitaries here. Sir.
Namaste. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this two-day conference on temple management. Chanakya University, though a very young university, we are just about 2-year-old as an institution. Right from the beginning, tried to come up with globally relevant academic endeavors with a very serious focus on research, and true to the objective of the university of producing knowledge, we tried to come out with publications from out of every event of this kind that would add value moving forward in various disciplines. This is the fourth of the series of international conferences that we organized in the last 2 years, and all of them were initially, of course, conceived by Professor K.V. Raju, who is with us today, and he's going to speak to you about this conference immediately after my welcome address. Now, temples, there is no doubt that there is a huge aspect of faith and religion involved in temples, but we cannot forget that temples are also very, very significant social entities. Now, these are institutions that have nurtured the way people come together, interact, and there is a whole lot of developmental initiatives that have come through temples. Therefore, curiosity as well as academic interest in the way temples operate has been there for quite a long time. I'm a student of management, but I remember it's almost 2 decades ago that we initiated series of studies on civil society related institutions, and one area that we looked at was on the idea of dana and philanthropy. And we did a lot of studies in the area of philanthropy, including individual giving, idea of altruism, and there was one significant study that was done by one of my colleagues that's on religious philanthropy. I'm happy that Dr. Krishna Kotai, who did that, also is here today. He's going to make a presentation in the next session. After a few years, I had a wonderful chance to attend an international conference which was titled The Management and Marketing of Globalizing Asian Religions. This was in the National Institute of Ethnology. It's called Mimpaku in Osaka. And I'm again happy that one of those who was connected with the institute, Mr. Tetsuya Tanaka, is also here. He has done studies on Indian temples, and he will be making a presentation here. So there is a lot of history that we see that people cutting across disciplines are interested in the idea of temple and how temple is a very significant institution in our setup. Therefore, I think this is a very good opportunity for us. I see that we will have more than 20 presentations here, I think in the next 2 days, including very serious research works that have come, and that cuts across different disciplines. So there is a space here for people from social sciences, people from pure sciences, people from management, everybody to look at. So we hope that these 2 days is going to be very productive, and all of us learn, and there will be more research interest coming in this area. I also thank all of you for deciding to come over to Chanakya, and those of you who are here for the first time, I also request you to go around, see how the campus is coming up, and what we are trying to do as a university. Decade or so, we will be trying to put up a kind of a research track where it should be possible for us to come with research outputs which would be multidisciplinary. In fact, at Chanakya University, all our learning is multidisciplinary, and we want to very much do this in terms of research as well. And I hope those of you who are here, there are scholars from Japan, from Nepal, along with scholars from all over India, we should be able to probably come with some network and try to do maybe research together jointly, which I think would be much more meaningful. I hope these 2 days conference will open the door for those things. This conference is put together in partnership with different organizations. Some of them are here today, some are not physically present. It's also a chance for me to thank all of them who decided to be part of this. Again, Professor Raju will give you more details. Now, one institution that has partnered with us is ISKCON, which I think globally everybody knows about ISKCON. And we have today with us to inaugurate this conference and to give the keynote address, Gaurang Das Prabhuji with us. He had already visited us once. I think everybody will be familiar with Akshay Patra and all the work that ISKCON is doing. So we are really fortunate that we could get him, and I am very excited and looking forward to listening to him. Gaurang Prabhuji, welcome to Chanakya. This is your second visit, I think. Welcome, and we look forward to listening to you. Professor K.V. Raju was with us for some time. In fact, he was one of the team that actually conceived the idea of Chanakya University. He was a professor of economics at ISEC, and then he was the economic advisor to Chief Minister of Karnataka and also to Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. And he is currently with the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh for a second term, and therefore he is not with us. But this conference was initially conceived by him. He did the hand-holding in the design and taking this forward. If Professor K.V. Raju takes up something, that we all know the seriousness with which he would do this. And I hope in his absence we will live up to his expectation. Anyway, he made it a point. He's a very busy person now. The Chief Minister would probably every half an hour would look and see whether K.V. Raju is here. But he made it possible to be here. Sir, welcome again, and I look forward to this. I'm also joined here by my colleague, Dr. Sushant Joshi, the registrar, who is facilitating a lot of admin related things. I welcome Sushant as well. We also are joined by our leadership team. I am not sure, our Chancellor Padma Shri M.K. Sridhar was on his way. I think he will join us. Our Pro-Chancellor M.P. Kumar probably is not able to join immediately, but he will be here sometime. I welcome them also. We have host of scholars from all over India who have come, all over India, Nepal, Japan, who are here. Of course, each one of you, I think we will get to know you. They will be also introduced in the respective sessions in the next 2 days. In the meanwhile, I welcome all of you to Chanakya, and let's continue to interact. I extend a warm welcome to representatives of the media. There is a coverage that is already given to this event as a launch of the conference. So I both welcome and thank the media people. All our colleagues who have been working for this conference, including our Dean of Academic Affairs, Ashwin Kumar, Dr. Meena Nair, Dr. Padmavati, and the entire team who is working, the different divisions, our communication division, and the faculty members who are involved. I welcome all of them. And of course, for the students, I would only say that I know that you are all from different disciplines, but every opportunity of this kind would be for you to pick up something of a new lead and learn something new. So you are all here. I welcome all of you. So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. Let us look forward to a very productive 2 days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that impactful message and a lovely cordial welcome to all the scholars. Welcome international scholars, welcome to India, Bangalore, and Chanakya University. Ladies and gentlemen, ideas are the most powerful form of action. The idea of this conference was conceived, birthed by a visionary leader who's present amongst us. Sir has already highlighted his significance and dependence of one big state, Uttar Pradesh, on his economic sense and wisdom. And he's here with us. I hope the state is doing fine in his absence. Definitely. We are very honored and we welcome you with all the heart, sir. May we request you to please address and share your thoughts as to how initially you thought of this conference. And today it is because of you that we are able to organize and see this day, and after the consecration of the auspicious Ram Temple. Welcome, sir.
सबको नमस्कार ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ Good morning to you all. This is my third milestone as part of my journey in the Chanakya University set 22 months back. Why I'm saying 22 months? Everything that we do as a graduate or a postgraduate takes time. We need to hit the milestones monthly, quarterly or yearly. Keep it up. Honorable Swamiji, Gorandas Prabhuji, our Vice Chancellor, continuously supporting this, our Registrar Shashank Joshi. And I'm extremely thankful to Chanakya University, its management team, its leadership team, all the faculty, those who are here, and the admin team for supporting this international conference on the temple management, historical, functional, and futuristic perspectives. I'll come back in a minute. But most importantly, this conference would have not been possible without the help and generous support from the BAPS Swaminarayan Research Institute, Central Samsat University, Delhi, Srinivas Varkade, Professor Srinivas Varkade in particular, IKS Division, Ministry of Education, Professor Ganti Suryanamurthy as a coordinator, and International Society for Krishna Consciousness. From the day one, as a concept note, we shared with them, we took their inputs to conceptualize this. It looks at this dasha or disha. We could able to get that, we could able to move forward. The question is, why this conference? Temples are nerve centers of Bharatiya culture, and culture is a cultivated nature. Today, any of you have some culture. This is because of the cultivated nature. Maybe in the families, maybe in the temples, maybe in neighborhoods. They provide spiritual support to many in the communities around the world, and those who visit from other places as well. They were great learning centers for centuries, for thousands of years. Today, they've taken a different shape for various reasons. Built and supported by kings and local communities, individuals, and even governments over several millennia. Temples have served as hubs for spiritual, economic, and knowledge generating and disseminating activities as well. Various designs of construction, different styles of function were adopted based largely on Agama Shastras. The management of temples has also varied between local communities, royal families, other patterns, including the state, creating various models of ensuring that the upkeep of the temples and regularity of functions is maintained. It's unbelievable. Any temple, small or big, certain essential functions are carried out from the early morning till the late night. There are also temples that have collapsed due to lack of structural mechanism for their maintenance, probably with centers of invasions from land and sea, resulting in disruption of activities and functions associated with the temples. Reduced patronage from kings and reduced involvement of local communities. Faced with the stark choices of survival are closed down. Yet, these temples in various forms and functions across the country have retained the devotees' belief and interest, indeed increased enormously. Sri Ram Mandir is one such example. The recent decades have witnessed a concerted effort to revive the dynamics of temples as providers of harmony and among our communities. However, the laws of secular India on temple management have been a primary source of interference in the temple management. Additionally, the temples and its resources and management are constrained by inadequate and short-term plans and projects. Many temple funds are diverted for secular purposes of the governments. These issues have led to several protests, legal disputes, management of resources, and continued debates and discussions, both formal and informal manner, across the states that you see now. In recent years, different set of arguments are emerging. One, free temples from the government control, so that devotees or trusts or local groups may manage and control their administration and assets. There are several examples emerging across the country. The prime argument is that the government need to apply secular principles and treat Hindu temples and institutions on par with the religious institutions of other religions, where the government does not interfere in their management. Second, increased government control, thereby vested interests do not utilize the temple's assets and their administrative control for the benefit of law. There have been arguments and counter-arguments on who and how temples should be managed, and there are as many thoughts as there are scholars, practitioners, and officials. To bring in a structure to the entire discourse and considering the importance of this theme in modern temples, Chanakya University took on the onus to host an international conference on temples management, historical, functional, and futuristic perspectives in partnership with many public and private institutions that the research team of the university reached out to. Our sponsors in this conference are, one, the BAPS Swaminarayan Research Institute based in Delhi but spread out across the globe, Central Samsat University, Delhi, and IKS Division, Ministry of Education, Government of India, and International Society for Krishna Conscious. We're extremely thankful to all their generosity and support. Chanakya University has a host two major conferences in a short time since its inception in 2021 that highlighted the application of Indian knowledge systems, the conference held in March 2023, and Chanakya's philosophy into the present times, held on September 2023, and now host a unique international conference on temple management now, today, in partnership with key institutions working on similar themes on knowledge creation. The overall purpose of the conference is to ensure the conduct of a successful event that will recommend implementable, contextual, and sustainable solutions to the management of temples from their human, physical, and financial perspectives using historical, contemporary, and futuristic lenses. What we followed a systematic process. That's the reason why all the three conferences seems to be fairly well done, highly appreciated, widely circulated. Two of the earliest conferences done, the Chanakya conference already submitted to the leading publisher. It's up in the process. The first one is getting ready for the publication by the international publisher. I'm sure this one, I'm confident the Chanakya University team will also submit to the global publisher, and also made it in the open access manual, so freely accessible. Each conference followed a systematic process. Number one, identifying the authors, inviting in addition to putting on the conference. It has a three-steps process. The first abstract of 1,500 words goes for 5 reviewers, blind referees. The second, a full-fledged paper, again goes for 5 blind referees. Third, again the final paper goes for a referees. That's how it's systematically done. If I quote one example, the very first conference took 74 abstracts, brought down to 21 papers when it finally got into the conference stage. The systematic, rigorous process of blind review process and refining is a boost for the authors and credibility to the university and also to the authors. That's where it boosted up the systematic process that Chanakya University set and followed. For this process of a conference, we had 8 themes to begin with. Students and the faculty need to understand what we conceptualize in the beginning, then how it trickles down to the shorter ones. We had 8 ones. See how it trickled down. 1, the role of temples. 2nd, temple architecture and engineering designs. 3rd, governance of temples. 4th, what local organizations can do. 5th, support from the government. 6th, operational guidelines. 7th, capacity building. And 8th, best practices. Once it went on and the authors have put in their papers and abstracts to begin with, then we came down to the 4 main themes. The 8 become 4. Social role of temples, architecture and design, functional management, and the governance. How it takes shift, how it gets merger. We set up a national advisory group to guide on indicated themes and overall framework of the conference. Welcome to our Chancellor Padma Shri M.K. Sridhar, right hand here. Yeah. Torchbearer and continuously supporting this conference and also earlier conferences. We are so glad to be able to make it. Yeah. And we fought several times, why this, why not that, but initially he supported continuously. It's so glad that it's here today and it's getting inaugurated. Excluding inaugural and closing ceremonies, conferences will have theme-wise parallel sessions, as you will see now. And then in each theme, only a short listed and selected papers will be presented. They will be critically discussed by 2 expert discussants, as you see in the structure, followed by question and answer sessions. That's where the brainstorming marathon happens. In each session, academic researchers, experts, senior officers of the government agencies, representatives of temple trusts and organizations, legal experts, and others will be involved. You will witness, if you participate in as many sessions as possible, some retired officers took enormous interest to document a local temple rejuvenation, how they contributed and how they rejuvenated it on their own without anybody's help. In some other cases, you will see a community got involved and then they did it the whole thing. There are other cases in a much bigger scale, how they maintain this. This is a wonderful opportunity to know how it happened and why it happened. The Conference Coordination Committee created the leadership team at Chanakya University, decided to have a mix of plenary sessions and technical sessions with paper presentations so that knowledge is shared, both experts, practitioners, and present scholars. Yeah, papers were largely set for 8,000 words because that should be a good paper to be published both in the book and also as an independent research journal if they like later on. Then there is a review of the Conference Coordination Committee that go through the next set of systematically laid out procedure before putting into the international publication. What do we expect from this? That's everybody will ask after all this. 1, a road map or a framework that can be adopted to ensure more efficient management of temples from the human, physical, and financial perspectives. An edited publication in partnership with an international publisher for scholars, practitioners, and the governments to openly access, free access, and receive international exposure. I'm extremely thankful those who worked with me in the earlier, my tenure here. Professor H.S. Ashok was earlier a dean, professor of psychology, and Dr. Manasa, who is now in the US, and Sri Lekha, a doctoral student now. I'm extremely thankful to all of them, and to the Chancellor, and the Pro-Chancellor, and the Vice-Chancellor, and the entire leadership of the Chanakya. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was a scholar and an administrator speaking. Thank you very much, sir. Please accept our sincere gratitude, and we seek your continued guidance at Chanakya University. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a divine personality amidst us, Shri Gaurang Das Prabhuji. Prabhuji, a graduate from IIT Bombay, a mindful meditation expert, sustainability and climate warrior, as well as a social welfare catalyst. Prabhuji is a member of the governing body commission of ISKCON and actively involved in enhancing leadership, effectiveness, and governance of temples and communities globally. When divine personalities like Prabhuji put their footsteps in our university campus, they bring shower of blessings and grace upon us. We are so honored with your presence, Prabhuji, and invite you to deliver the keynote address. May I request my IT team to please play the slides and ensure they are displayed on the screens here. Are we ready?
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I'll speak from here, yes. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Honorable M.K. Sridhar ji, Yashwant ji, Sushant ji, K.V. Raju ji, leadership, faculty, students, other academicians who are assembled for this conference, I welcome all of you. And I congratulate the organizers for organizing an international conference on temples management. I see many students, youth who are present here, and many of you may be wondering, what is a temple? Temple in Sanskrit is basically, can we have on this one also? Temple basically in Sanskrit or Hindi is known as mandir. I technically call temple as a hospital for the mind. Hospital exists for curing disease of the body, and a temple or a mandir exists for curing the disease of the mind. The body is invaded with viruses, bacteria, other kinds of organisms which paralyze the functioning of the body. Similarly, the mind is also invaded by various kinds of anxieties, stresses, various kinds of situations where a person's ability to make decisions is paralyzed. The three problems associated with the mind are, first, when we experience a problem, we start taking the problem personally. The problem is there, a mistake is made, maybe the results are not as per expectation, maybe the kind of delivery which our organization is experiencing, I have not delivered. But when that happens, instead of thinking that there is a problem in the situation, I start thinking that I am bad. That is the meaning of the mind makes you perceive a problem personally. When I was in IIT, and I tell this story in many of my podcasts, one of my close friends tried to commit suicide. I was shocked because he was a very good student. And when we asked him, why did you try to commit suicide? He said that in every exam I would always get the gold medal, but in this exam I got the silver medal I could not handle. So stress is defined as the gap between expectation and reality. And in that same exam, I had 3 or 4 of my other friends who had failed in 3 to 4 subjects. And they were moving around the campus peacefully, blissfully, as if nothing happened. They were blessing others. Why are you in anxiety? Look at us. We have failed in 4 subjects, we are so cool. So I looked at them and said, you are pretty shameless. You have failed in 3-4 subjects and still you are moving around peacefully. What's your philosophy in life? And they said, our philosophy is simple. College में घुसना अपना काम है, निकालना college का काम है. I am not endorsing this philosophy here. But that was a paradigm shift for me in my journey, because I realized that a very important part of our experience is how the mind portrays a certain situation. So that's the first problem with the mind. It makes you take the problem personally. Can we have the presentation, please? The second issue with the mind is the mind makes a certain problem appear pervasive. What is the meaning of pervasive? It makes you feel that I am not only good at this, I am not good at that also, and that also, and that also. And in short time, the mind convinces you, you are good for nothing. You are not good at anything. I mean, I may have made a mistake in one thing, but the mind magnifies it in such a way, then you start thinking I am not good at anything. So that is the meaning of pervasive. And therefore in the Gita, when Arjuna asks Krishna, Chanchalam hi manak Krishna pramathi balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. The mind is fickle, stubborn, the mind is filled with all kinds of anxieties. The mind is in a maddened state, and the mind is determined. So Krishna says, yes, you can deal with that stubbornness of the mind by following two things. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. With practice and detachment. And therefore, the third principle of the mind is it makes a situation appear permanent. Personal, pervasive, and then permanent. That the problem is so bad, it will never change. You are doomed. This is the end of the life. So that is another problem with the mind, and therefore even if you can do something good, you are unable to do, and therefore Arjuna had the skill to fight, but on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when he saw Bhishma and Drona, he lost the will to fight. And today the education system is focused on skill, on success, but the education system is not talking about happiness. Because the difference between success and happiness is success is to get what you like, and happiness is to like what you get. And therefore this is where the temples as an ecosystem play a major role in helping a person understand that if you are going through a problem, a difficulty, made a mistake, that mistake need not be taken personally, need not be pervasive, and need not become permanent. And you have to have the proper perspective to look at things. So in short, temple as a hospital for the mind helps one transform the mind in a way that we are able to understand the situation from a higher, holistic perspective. Today, 300 million people across the world are experiencing stress symptoms. 370 people are committing suicides every single day. 1 billion people are addicted to smoking across the world. 6 million people are dying because of deaths due to lung cancer and other things as a result of smoking. So people are following all kinds of addictions because they have lost control over themselves. And when they go with depression and mental difficulties and mental health challenges, the only solution currently with modern science is the psychiatry and popping the pill. In the temple's ecosystem, the alternative for curing the ills of the mind was transforming the perspective. And just like if there is a skyscraper, and that skyscraper is a huge building, we are unable to do anything about the size of the building. But if you take a flight and from the top of the flight you look at that skyscraper, then the whole skyscraper looks like the size of a matchbox. Has the size of the skyscraper changed? No. But The height from which you are seeing the skyscraper has changed. The perspective has changed. And therefore, in the temple's ecosystem, the mandir, what it does is, any person who enters into a temple is offered a different, higher perspective of looking at the same situation. Because the mind has multiple lenses. If you look at a rose with a high magnification microscope, a beautiful rose will appear ugly. Whereas, if you look at that same rose with a lens which moves the rose back, then the same rose appears very tiny. If you look at the rose with your naked eyes, it will appear in its original beauty. So for different situations which occur in our life, do we have the ability to choose the right lenses at the right moment so that we are able to deal with that situation appropriately? Calamities cannot be stopped, adversities cannot be eradicated. But when calamities and adversities hit our life, what is the perspective with which we look at them is what the temples are teaching us as the hospitals for the mind. They help us adjust the lenses with which we look at a certain situation. Mahavipattau samsare yah smaret madhusudana vipattau tasya sampatti bhavet ityah shankara. In the midst of the greatest adversity, Mahavipattau, one who remembers the Supreme Lord, Vipattau tasya sampatti, that calamity can potentially become an opportunity. That is the kind of positivity which is infused in the mind, not artificially, but by helping transform the perspective. When a person looks at a skyscraper from high above in a flight, he is not artificially looking at that particular building. It is not that one is standing in front of the building and imagining the building is small, the building is small. One actually has risen up in the sky in the flight. And from the window of the airplane, the skyscraper literally, realistically looks small. So therefore, the temples are those airplanes where once we come in and sit and take off, it elevates our consciousness to such an extent that all the various calamities and challenges and difficulties which may have appeared overwhelming as personal, pervasive and permanent appear to be opportunities to go to the next level. There was a beggar who visited a lady's house, and then when he was, asking this lady, just give me some bakshish. And when he said that, the lady came out with a huge amount of, okay, will they be able to see that? Yeah, okay, fine, sure. So, this lady came out in great anger and brought a lot of ash from the sigdi. In the villages they use this wood-fired stove, sigdi, and ash is generated. She had collected the ash over a few days, and she brought all of that ash and threw it into the chadar of this beggar. The beggar looked at the lady and very gratefully said, "Thank you very much for your kind contribution. I will come again tomorrow." And the lady became very upset. She said, "What is this nonsense? I have given you so much of useless ash. Why you will come again tomorrow?" And the beggar folded his hands and said, "My dear lady, I am very happy that today at least you have begun the process of giving. Today you have given ash, tomorrow you will give cash." So I have that hope. And therefore, dear friends, what do the temples do? The temples acknowledge the fact that however powerful we may be, all of us will be put in helpless situations. And in those helpless situations, our political power, intellectual power, financial power, educational power, social influence, all our assets which we have, all of that individually and collectively will not be helpful. And that's the reason in Ramayana, people like Ramachandra himself were put in helpless situations of being forced to go to the forest for 14 years. In the Mahabharata, the Pandavas were forced to go through calamity after calamity to show that this is the reality. And therefore, Bhishma Dev, while looking at the Pandavas on their deathbed on arrows, Bhishma Dev glorifies the Pandavas. And he gives a wake-up call to all of us that just by collecting assets and skills and acumen, do not think that you will be able to overcome all challenges in life. Because in spite of the best planning you do, things will always go wrong. And Bhishma Dev says, Yatra dharma suto raja gadapanir brikodara Krishno stri gandi vamachapam suhurt Krishnas tato vipat. Bhishma Dev looks at the Pandavas and he says, what an ideal family the Pandavas have. It is a dream family. Yudhishthir is dharma personified, Bhim is power personified, Arjuna is skill personified, Nakul and Sahadev is loyalty personified, and Krishna is well-wisher personified. All the forces together, united, aligned in synergy in one family. What else can you hope for? By seeing the combined power of this family, one may imagine that this family literally can never go through a calamity with all such powers together. But the reality is the Pandavas went through calamity after calamity. But what helped them was not the absence of problems. It was their perspective when the problems came. And therefore, this spiritual perspective is what the temples focus upon. And so, all of us, in conclusion, will be put in helpless situations. But when we are put in helpless situations, we may be helpless, but we should not become hopeless. And therefore, Krishna, when he appeared, Krishna did not appear in a magnificent thousands of crores worth of temple. Krishna appeared in the jail house of Kamsa. And when Krishna appeared in the jail house of Kamsa, a jail is considered to be a very abominable, dirty place. But when Krishna appears in the womb of Devaki, all the 33 crore demigods come and they offer prayers. Satyabratam satyaparam trisatyam satyasya yonim nihitam cha satye. They glorify Krishna as the absolute truth. And they say that because Krishna has appeared here, irrespective of what the external situation may be, it's a jail. The infrastructure is a jail. But the most important part is, within this infrastructure is the infusion of the spiritual potency in the form of Krishna. And therefore, Shukadeva Goswami says, Sadevaki sarva jagan nivasa nivasa bhutam nitaram nareje bhojendra gehe agni shikhe varuddha saraswati jnana khale yatha sati. That Krishna's presence in Devaki's womb, that personality who carries the entire universe within him, is present within Devaki's womb through his mystic power. And he was present like fire covered by a pot. Nobody could identify that he is there. But those who knew could understand And therefore, Kamsa's jailhouse actually became the most worshipable temple because of the presence of Krishna in Devaki's womb. And therefore, dear friends, it's very important for us to realize that temples are extremely powerful places for transforming our consciousness, transforming our perspective, transforming the way we look at helpless situations, not with hopelessness, but with tremendous hope. And that is what Krishna's father Vasudeva indicates, who is called as Tatascha Shauri Bhagavat Prachodita Sutam Samadaya Cha Sutika Grihat. Shauri means brave. Vasudeva did not win a single battle, still he is called brave. Why? Because in spite of losing 6 sons, he was in a helpless situation at the hands of Kamsa. He was helpless, but Vasudeva did not become hopeless and continued with hope that Krishna will appear. And therefore, dear friends, the temples help us remain optimistic, remain brave, remain hopeful. And so, temple towns are what India needs very, very dramatically and drastically. And I'll just share with you what are some of the different perspectives as far as the temple management through the ages, historical and current practices. So this is basically an example that if you have industry-based cities, as the industry relevance changes, some other cities become more powerful in those industries, then the original cities become irrelevant. And these are some examples. How the automobile industry was very much a part of Detroit, and then Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh were all industrial belt. But when the motor industry and the other industries shifted to other places, then these cities became practically dying cities. Whereas the deities do not move. So I've gone to the next slide. The deities do not move, and when there are temple-centered cities, then we have cities like Varanasi, Ujjain, Madurai, Pushkar, some of the oldest cities of the world, and they are continuously thriving because they are known for their temples, and temples don't change, the deities don't change. And therefore, nowadays people are having hundreds and thousands of seminars on corporate leadership, on how to improve our leadership skills and management skills, organizational culture. But do we realize that the organization and management centered around temples are thousands of years older than any corporation? And therefore, the leadership and organization and management of the temples is the original management and organization which modern India has seen, which has gone along with all the administration of the kingdoms. Next. So the broad categories of temple towns are single temple centered, for example, Madurai has one temple, or multi-temple like Kanchipuram has many, many temples, or Prayag and Kumbh Mela become like one event around which entire economy grows and people flock in millions. Even Harvard made a case study out of how beautifully this is organized. Many of you may not have been to Kumbh Mela, but I have been to almost 4 Kumbh Melas. I have also personally involved in cooking there. It's a fascinating experience to see on one day like Mauni Amavas Shahi Snan Day, on one single day, 5 to 6 crore people all come peacefully. They come from all kinds of backgrounds. They do their snan and they go off, and you won't even realize that the city had absorbed such a large crowd on that single day. So next is managing the temple is not just about taking care of the deities, but also the temples were epicenter for social and environmental initiatives, like the Parni temple in Tamil Nadu, running school, college facilities, medical center. In Himachal Pradesh, the Jwalamukhi temple takes care of people in times of their need, and the Meenakshi Amman temple as the nucleus of development in city of Madurai. Next. And the temples also act as allied activities like study of the Vedas, learning of dance and music, arranging religious discourse and seminars, study of astronomy, astrology, yoga, festivals, hospitals and libraries to take care of disabled, flower and fruit gardens. If you go to Tirupati Balaji, you will see the beautiful gardens, maintained by the disciples of Sripad Ramanujacharya, who gave instruction that this is your life, to maintain this flower garden so that the flowers can be offered to Balaji. And to create a board of learned persons and elders belonging to all communities to settle conflicts like that. And so interestingly, if you look at two temple towns, Madurai and Varanasi, and compare it with the average in India, so we find that on an average, the crime rate, if you observe, in Madurai is 50.55, and in Varanasi 34.78 vis-a-vis 385.5, which shows that temple towns bring down the crime rate. Then if you look at the literacy ratio, it is also on the higher side. If you look at the net enrollment ratio of those students who are in the primary school, that's also high. If you look at longevity, that is also powerful. And the happiness score, which is also on the higher side. So the whole idea is detailed study can be done on how the presence of temple towns actually create transformational effects in society. Through the ages, the administrative structure, the financial management, priestly roles, and community participation in ancient India versus medieval, colonial, and contemporary India could be compared. Yes, in ancient times, kings were the patrons and they were taking care. And then when the Islamic rule came, some of that royal patronage happened. Like for example, when Vrindavan was completely developed, because after Babur entered in 1525 and Humayun came up in 1530 and Akbar took up rule in 1555, it was at that time that Man Singh, who was the main chieftain or the commander-in-chief of Akbar, he developed a collaboration between the Vaishnav community in Vrindavan because they were his gurus, and the stone which was used for all the forts which Akbar was making, those stone was used for building the temples in Vrindavan. So there was some kind of a political collaboration. And then of course during colonial India it came under state control, and the active interference started especially with the closing down of the Sanskrit schools and punishing of people engaged in study of Sanskrit. And then nowadays, of course, governed by the state laws and temple committees as far as the various government-related temples are concerned. And similarly, financial management was very stable in the ancient time. Then gradually, during medieval India, endowments, grants were made. During British time, then the Land Sealing Act began, and there is a famous story of Thomas Monro who visits Mantralayam. And there, Raghavendra Swami personally comes, and then he offers Akshata to Thomas Monro, and he gets so stunned that he creates a specific order that this law should not be applied in this temple, and it is still preserved as part of the Madras Gazette in the records. So then the priestly roles and rituals were very strong in the earlier times. Then gradually there was some interference during the Islamic and the colonial time. But now, to the best possible extent, these Ved Pathshalas are being continued, and much can be done to improve the training of the priests. And, I have always maintained that skill development should not be only restricted to various kinds of other trades and engineering related skills and things like that. But priestly skills should also be considered as part of the skill movement. And so community participation was also there. And all of these various methodologies leading to technological advancement today has resulted in masses being engaged with the temple. So, many times people feel that temples are something which were there in the ancient times, but what about modern times? India has almost 750 districts. And what I'm presenting here is that every district in India could potentially have a temple town. The ancient kings made temple towns like Varanasi, Madurai, Kanchipuram, and things like that. But even today, those who are having the means or those organizations with the will can gather public engagement and create temple towns. So, at Govardhan Eco Village in Palghar district, we have created a temple town where we have 14 temples over 15 acres, including the Madan Mohan temple. The entire development is a recreation of Vrindavan, where we have created the Yamuna. You can see the Yamuna river, the Yamuna Aarti, and the Yamuna river aerial view. We have created the 7 temples, major temples of Shyam Sundar, Gokulananda, Govindadev, Madan Mohan, Gopinath, etc. And we have recreated the 12 forests of Vrindavan. It has become a fantastic epicenter for spiritual tourism. If you see, Northern Ireland with a population of 1 million, pre-COVID was getting tourist population of 5 million. India with a population of 1.4 billion got only 11 million tourists pre-COVID. And majority, 75% of the domestic tourism in India is to spiritual tourism. So if every district creates a place of pilgrimage, it becomes also a hub for spiritual tourism. 2023 January, first Govardhan Eco Village got 5,000 tourists. In 2024 January, Govardhan Eco Village here, we got 15,000 tourists. So there was like 3 times the increase just in 1 year. And each district, if it has a hub for spiritual tourism like this, people get transformed and the economy boosts. Along with that, the second element apart from spirituality is social and economic impact. We have adopted more than 400 villages around the Govardhan Eco Village, and we serve meals to eradicate malnutrition. We are working by hand-holding the farmers and engaging them in rural development activities by transforming their chemical farming habits to organic farming. We are also involved in giving skill in various trades, and we have a skill development institute along with skilling for solar motor technicians. We also have self-help groups where more than 3,000 women have been empowered. We are running some hospitals. Like that, all around, we could actually be creating transformation as far as social impact is concerned. And most importantly, we have developed this entire temple town in a sustainable manner under Green Rating for Integrated Habitat Assessment GRIHA of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, under Indian Green Building Council, and so food, water, energy, and waste are conserved. The green buildings, we have created 400,000 mud blocks, where it has only 0.275 megajoules per kilogram of energy, as against 72 megajoules per kilogram energy of a regular brick wall. We have also created soil biotechnology plant, which recycles 4 crore liter of water every year by using geophagous earthworms and root bacteria. And all of this recycled water is again used for irrigation. So basically, it's like a hub and spoke model where this temple town becomes a living lab for people in the entire area to come and see how one can live with sustainability. And as a result, we are accredited to 5 United Nations agencies: United Nations Environment Program, United Nations Economic and Social Council, United Nations World Tourism Organization, United Nations Biodiversity Council, and United Nations Committee for Combating Desertification. And temple towns can become active players and catalysts in helping achieve the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. And you'll be amazed to know that in 2017, United Nations Environment Program created a new vertical called United Nations Faith for Earth, where they reached out to temples and faith organizations, calling upon them please join in the crusade against mitigating climate change, and you please help us in this effort. And therefore, this Govardhan eco-village which we have created as a modern-day temple town is a great example of how the concept of temple town, which has always been relevant since time immemorial, is still relevant and giving us opportunity to create newer and newer ones. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. I'll just request the video to be played. So I'll just end with a very brief video for all of you to get an idea of this model. Thank you.
Govardhan Eco-Village is about 2.5 hours northeast of Mumbai in a very beautiful rural village area of Maharashtra. It is a very holy place in India, which is considered most sacred to devotees of Krishna. It's called Vrindavan. And in that Vrindavan is a mountain named Govardhan, which represents environmental, ecological harmony with spiritual principles.
This place is very special. Certainly it's unique in India and perhaps unique in the whole world. It's like a retreat center. It's like a spa. It's like an ashram. It's a place that's designed as an experiment to merge environmentalism, animal rights, and bhakti, spirituality, together, and it's working.
The amenities here are of a whole nother caliber. People, when they think of the words India and ashram, they think of harsh and rough living. From the Ayurvedic clinic, which not only gives treatments, but also has an Ayurvedic doctor who helps prescribe something that is specific for your dosha. The atmosphere that is created by the founder, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and the atmosphere that is created by the devotees who work here is palpable. You can feel it in the air.
Originally, I was from Chicago. When I was 19 years old in 1970, I wanted to try to broaden my outlook of life. So I went on a journey. Ultimately, I hitchhiked from London to the Himalayas in India. And as I was traveling, I came to realize that the real social and environmental problems of the world are due to a spiritual crisis. A crisis in what we consider is actually meaningful and fulfilling in our life.
Radhanath Swami is a passionate person. The best passion is compassion, and he has an ample amount of that, and that type of passion is contagious.
You come here and doing the save of the service, helping with the cows, helping with to weed mats, helping with make pottery. It's actually fun. It's very simple lifestyle. And I think a lot of us crave that on different levels.
It's sort of programmed into our culture that you look for recognition. You need it. For me being here, I see it's far more powerful to be humble.
It was easy to complain about the tiny inconveniences that come with a New York City apartment. Oh, it's not big enough. Oh, the water pressure isn't great enough. When you live in a house that you see built from the ground up, every step along the way is very special.
Apart from these jasmine flowers which you see, he grows a lot of his lady fingers, okra. Yeah. So we network with all these farmers so that we purchase them, that kitchen and use them.
And the inspiration of this project, Srila Prabhupada, he called this transformation simple living and high thinking.
We get 3,000 millimeters of rain annually. So the rainwater hits against those mountains, the Sahyadri mountain ranges, and flows down and collects here. And it is sufficient water for us to irrigate our fields for up to 6 to 7 months every year. The majority of India's population, which is 1.2 billion, lives in the villages. So one of the very important requirements to develop a village is how can water be conserved.
Process begins here. As you can see, the raw sewage is falling and there are some screens. The first chamber is called screen chamber, where we are trying to separate floating solids. This is the raw water where we began, and this is the painted water.
The uniqueness of this place comes from the fact that every waste is becoming a precious resource. That cow dung becomes a fertilizer for earth. He needs fire or energy for cooking his food, and therefore all of the cow dung we utilize for biogas plant. We need to make houses, so we use the same earth, and we have created 250,000 bricks. We call this a symbiotic recycling model. Flushing your toilet, you are contributing to the growth of a papaya. You are contributing to the growth of flowers.
One of the greatest management gurus says that the greatest management challenge of the 21st century is managing oneself.
Many corporate heads are having seminars and retreats here. And they also see alternative ways by which they could focus their own corporations and feel a real sense of responsibility to humanity.
The thing I'm most compelled to do when I get home is really seva. It's service. It gets us out of being so self-absorbed.
I always had too much. And now I want to have a simple life, like here. I love simple life, and my goal is to make a simple life in my home.
If we just refocus our energies with these values, we could transform the world.
Prabhuji, we are overwhelmed by what we have heard, what we have seen, and what we have felt. It is because of such divine personas that the world becomes a beautiful and a habitable place to live in. We thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing your wisdom and your divine presence here. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have an eminent author amongst us. The eminent author who has pioneered inspiring works on temple management, Sri Sandeep Kumar Singh Ji. He's a well-known author on temple management who has dedicated his life to documenting and promoting Indian ways of management. Postdoctorate in rural development from Xavier Institute of Social Sciences from Ranchi. He has also specialized in media planning from Mudra Institute of Communications in Ahmedabad and in general business management from IIM Bangalore. His works today, Temple Economics and A Decade of Mandirs, will be released on this platform graced by the presence of Mata Saraswati and divine personalities. May I request our Honorable Chancellor Padma Shri Professor M.K. Sridharji to please grace the stage with his presence and join the dignitaries in the book release. I am very pleased to invite Sri Sandeep Singh Ji to please come on the stage and talk very briefly about your book, sir, before the book release function. May I also take this opportunity to remind you invitees and delegates who have registered online, please ensure you register yourself physically as well. Thank you very much. Sir, over to you.
माँ सरस्वती की चरण वंदना. Thank you, Chanakya University and the organizers for giving platform to my book. It's a truly honor for me. I didn't expect when I was writing this book that it will get that's better. When I started writing the book, I didn't visualize that it'll get such a great platform and released by such great dignitaries. So I like to thank each of them for gracing the occasion and releasing the book. I'll just give you a brief about the book, not more than 6-7 lines. So when the lockdown started after the Chinese virus, a normal trend that we have seen in past also started, that take money from mandirs. Now that kind of baffled me because neither the central government nor the state government had said that there is a shortage of money. And this bandwagon of take money from mandir was supported by a whole lot of Hindus. And I said this is the right time to start writing a book on temple economics. And normally we confuse the chadhawa, the revenue of the mandir, with temple economics. Temple economics is something much bigger. Our culture, our science, our art, our craft, our technology, everything evolves from mandir. We haven't bothered to look at it deeply. So that was the beginning of the journey, which lasted for 3.5 years. I ended up writing 4 books, published 2. 2 are waiting for funding, unattached with any strings. So as and when I get the other 2 will get published. The first volume talks about the temple, how the economy formed, how it developed, how it was destroyed over a period, and the different facets of temple economics. And the second book talks about the corrective measures, that what all we need to do. And on that, maybe tomorrow I have a session, I'll speak on that. I'll just leave it 3 thoughts with you all and not a critique to it. One is that the Christians goes to church, Muslims go to mosque, Jews, 2% or less than that population in the world, go to synagogue, Hindus go to temple. Now, temple is the place of worship of pagans. Pagans are the people or the civilization who no longer exist. So the first correction that we need to start doing is that stop using the word temple and start saying mandir, kovil, devasthalaya, or whatever words comes in your mother tongue. So though you have come for temple management course, nothing criticizing, because you may not have come, but now since you have come, we must correct. You should go out with the word mandir management. That's the first part of it. The second, thing is that we always confuse nowadays. We are very happy calling religious tourism. I think there's a big difference between religious tourism and tirth yatra. because if you use it as a tourism, you'll get down in a morning flight, maybe check in a 5-star hotel, have a dance in the pub, the next day morning pay a VIP visit, go back, next flight back. And then after 4 visits, it'll say I visited the temple 4 times, मुझे कोई धार्मिक अनुभूति नहीं हुई, I didn't experience anything. So Tirth Yatra is different than the tourism part of it. Tirth Yatra is that you walk, stand in the queue in the mandir, you stand, look around the people who have come from different parts of the country, understand the culture. When you stand in front of the Bhagwan, you close your eyes and think that if you go to Haridwar, Panda will tell you that your forefathers had visited. The same earth where you are standing, your forefathers would have stood someday. If you are at Ayodhya and you think that Bhagwan Ram was a Purvaj, then for a minute close your eyes and think that in the same place that you are standing thousands of years back, Bhagwan Ram and Ma Janki would have walked. If you are in Puri, just close your eyes and visualize that Adi Guru Shankaracharya would have walked that space where you are standing. If you come back from these places without having this feeling, then you have been in tourism and not the Tirth Yatra. There's a big difference. So with this, I'll end. I've got some copies of the book with me. It's priced at 1,500 2 volumes. You can have copies with me from 1,100. I've carried few copies. So I'll end with this part of marketing and wish you happy reading. Thank you for giving me a platform. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much, sir. Our libraries will adorn your works. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are navigating the roads through the traffic, I remember we see the message, objects are closer than they appear to be. It is through these great scholars' works and words of wisdom that we feel the Supreme Being is closer, not as far as they appear to be. On this note, we have now come to mark the end of the beginning. Giving gratitude is the most challenging task, and I love to push challenging tasks to eminent colleagues. My dear colleague, Professor Sandeep Nair, Registrar Evaluation, may I request you to deliver the vote of thanks.
Namaskaram to all. Thank you, madam. All learning should be reflected in a behavioral transformation which seeks to attain happiness. What a beautiful beginning for this conclave, an international conference on temple, mandir management, historical, functional and futuristic perspective. It's been amazing to understand simple words, how it changes perspectives. I'm honored to be here to propose the vote of thanks for this inaugural function. I, on behalf of my team, express our deep gratitude to the leadership of Chanakya University, represented by Padma Shri Professor M.K. Sridhar Sir, Honorable Chancellor of Chanakya University. With the presence of Professor M.K. Sridhar Sir, Honorable Chancellor, we need look no further for inspiration. Sir has always been there in all our endeavor in exploring learning experience. We thank you, sir, for your presence and your inspiration. Also taking this opportunity to thank the Pro-Chancellor, Sri M.P. Kumar Sir, a techpreneur educationist and an extraordinarily critical analyst of all that we do, and a beautiful insights he offers in the way we explore learning and building an institution. In his absence, I thank for his encouragement and presence and guidance for us. Also on this occasion, our Chief Operating Officer, Sri Nagaraj Reddy, who is a facilitator for all that we seek to do in Chanakya University. I thank this team of leadership represented by 3 extraordinary people. On this occasion, we are pleased to have a very sanctified presence of Sri His Holiness Gaurang Das Prabhuji with us. What a beautiful proposition. Mandirs, as it represents, is a place where we find and seek happiness. If we go with that particular perspective, I think a lot of our clarifications gets resolved. We are extremely delighted and honored and sanctified your presence, Prabhuji. How perhaps we should keep going and looking at these hospitals for the mind and soul of the cities and how they have preserved a civilizational continuity. We are extremely delighted to have listened to you and how you've brought in a applied philosophy in practice with the founding and operation of Govardhan Eco Village. May I request the leadership team, especially Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir and Registrar Sir, to join in presenting a token of appreciation for his presence and this keynote address to Sri Gaurang Das Prabhuji. Thank you, sirs. Now the person who explored and explained the Dasha and Disha of this conclave, very pleased to have with us Professor K.V. Raju, an author, researcher, social scientist who's been there since the initial journey of Chanakya University, for having conceptualized a theme like this and has driven us to come to this day. We are very, very happy to have you with us, sir. Requesting again the Honorable Vice Chancellor and the Registrar to present on behalf of us a token of our appreciation for his constant support, encouragement and presence in our endeavor. Thank you, sirs. Thank you, Prabhuji. We thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Yashwant Dongre, who set the purpose and focus of this conference as an alignment with our vision of this university. We thank you for your insightful words and opening remarks, sir. Thank the Registrar, Dr. Sushant Joshi, for his presence. We take this opportunity to thank our academic associates in this conference, the Central Sanskrit University, New Delhi, the BAPS Swaminarayan Sansthan, the ISKCON, the Society of Krishna Consciousness, and also the Center for IKS Ministry of Education, the Union Government. They have been with us since the conceptualization and till today in the execution of this event. I take this opportunity to thank all the delegates who have traveled all over from India and abroad. We're very happy to have foreign delegates as well, who have encouraged our efforts in contributing to highly enriching papers, and we hope that their presence would enrich this interaction. I thank the team which is put behind this effort, led by the Dean Academics and the Head of Research in Chanakya University, for such a wonderful conceptualization and execution of the program. I thank my colleagues and scholars here, and of course, we are very, very delighted to have the new face of India, the younger generation, the students of Chanakya University on this occasion. And having come to the end of this inaugural function, I hope that this has set the tone for a highly sanctified, sacred, and enriching 2 days of event. Just a last note, apart from understanding the importance of mandirs in economy, I think it's also important that these 2 days will give us an idea as to how to sanctify the spaces we habit. That means we call an education institution temple, a home a temple. So this will also give us an idea how do we sanctify our ambience. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Sandeep Nair. Thanks to Lord Almighty for blessing us in the successful conduct of this inauguration. And now, may I request all of you to be seated for a couple of announcements. May I request the dignitaries to please walk towards my right side for the tea and coffee arranged in the lower ground lobby near cafeteria. After that, we assemble in room number 231, second floor, for plenary session 1, where we explore the majesty and glory of social role of temples, moderated by Dr. Pejetaya ji. Forthwith, we will be subsequently announcing the venue for technical sessions. Thank you very much for being a great audience. Thank you to the eminent dignitaries. Please be seated until the guests move out.